There. What is that? The youngest mermaid gasped, her black eyes widening. The three sisters stopped swimming. A man washed ashore on their forbidden reef, unconscious, bruised, bleeding. His bare chest rose in shallow, uneven breaths. Salt clung to his lashes. Around his neck, a strange pendant pulsed faintly beneath his torn shirt, casting a dim golden glow through the water. "His human," the middle sister whispered, recoiling slightly. "He shouldn't be here," the eldest said, her voice cold. Her hand slid to the carved bone dagger at her waist. "We kill him. Now. Before anyone senses his presence." The waves around them hissed in quiet protest, as if listening. "Wait," the youngest said, moving closer, ignoring her sister's outstretched arm. "Look at him. He's different. They're all the same," the eldest spat. "Destroyers. Traitors. It was his kind who poisoned our waters. Our men had been slaughtered during the war with the Abari." The youngest turned to her. "And because of that war, our kind is dying." A long silence. The only sound was the distant hum of the reef and the faint thunder of the deep. "You know our reality," she continued, voice trembling. "We're three of the last warrior born of our lineage. The plague is thinning our numbers every moon. No more males. No more unions. If this keeps on, we go extinct." The middle sister hesitated, her grip on her trident loosening. "You're suggesting he could be the answer?" she asked. "A human?" "I'm suggesting we don't kill him until we know what he is," the youngest replied. "That pendant around his neck, it's not ordinary. It called to me." "We don't make those decisions," the eldest snapped. "Only the queen does." The youngest met her gaze. "Then let her decide." They hovered in silence, the man drifting between them like a question the ocean itself couldn't answer. Finally, the eldest lowered her dagger. "Fine. But if she says the word, I'll slit his throat myself." With a wave of her hand, the currents gathered around the man's body, lifting him gently. The three sisters turned, forming a silent triangle around him as they dove into the glowing depths of Thalare, the hidden mermaid kingdom no human had ever entered. The shimmering waters parted as the three sisters swam silently toward the gates of Thalare, the last hidden sanctuary of the mermaids. Bioluminescent corals lit their path, casting an eerie glow on the unconscious human man in their arms. Behind the gate, a watchful guard spotted them and immediately swam into the depths of the dome to alert the others. By the time the sisters passed through the protective coral ring that shielded Thalare from the rest of the ocean, a crowd of mermaid warriors had already gathered. Silent. Tense. Their long braided hair floated like sea grass, their green and blue scaled tails twitching as they stared in disbelief at the man being carried in. "His human," one of them hissed. "A trespasser. A spy." The crowd swirled with whispers, until Narissa, tall and silver-tailed, the oldest of the warrior sisters. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the water. "He washed up on the dead reefs. We found him unconscious. But alive. Should have left him there," muttered Viella, a stern mermaid with scars across her face. "Or slit his throat before he even opened his eyes. We can't keep risking our survival on sentiment," another warrior snapped. Just as tensions rose, the youngest of the sisters, Serere, swam forward. Her eyes, darker than the deep trenches, flicked to the murmuring warriors. "You all know our condition," she said calmly. "You've seen the numbers. We are only 150 now. No males. No future." The crowd fell silent again. She swam slowly in a circle, her voice gathering strength. "We've buried too many sisters. Too many dreams. If this man is alive, if he is fertile, he might be our last hope. Or at least, a sign." Murmurs filled the water. Hope. Suspicion. Desperation. "Queen Adriia must see him," Narissa finally said. The guards parted. The warriors reluctantly moved aside, letting the three sisters swim past them into the heart of Thalare. Thalare itself glowed with tragic beauty. Vast underwater towers built from pearl and obsidian rose around the central chamber. The streets were quiet, too quiet. Homes once filled with laughter now stood empty, echoing only silence and sorrow. They passed the Hall of Warriors, where memorial shells floated, each one for a fallen mermaid from the war against the Abari, the ancient sea spirits that once ruled with darkness and fury. That war had claimed all their men, leaving only the women behind, to fight, to survive. As the sisters approached the Grand Palace, the guards stepped aside with solemn nods. Inside, seated on a throne carved from the bones of a sea leviathan, was Queen Adriia, regal, fierce, her golden-scaled tail coiled beneath her. Her long locks were adorned with shimmering shells and silver teeth of fallen enemies. Her gaze locked onto the man. She stood. "You brought a human into Thalare?" Her voice was calm, but it crackled with tension. "Yes, Your Majesty," Narissa answered, her head bowed. "We believe he may be useful." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "Or he may be the beginning of our end." Silence. The man stirred slightly in Serere's arms. She gripped him tighter, heart racing. Then the Queen spoke again, quietly this time. "Take him to the chamber, treat his wounds and chain him. If he wakes, I will speak to him myself." The unconscious man was taken gently but swiftly into the crystal-lined healing chambers of Thalare. Two young healers glided beside his still form, their golden robes flowing like seaweed in the current. Ancient corals pulsed softly with light, casting a blue glow over his blood-streaked skin. No one spoke. The silence around him was thick with questions, fear, and a flicker of desperate hope. Outside the chambers, word of the man's arrival had already rippled through the city like a tidal wave. All 150 mermaid warriors of Thalare assembled within the royal amphitheater, carved from the bones of the great serpent of the deep. The mood was tense, every scale glistening with unease. Queen Adriia stood at the high dais, her golden tail wrapped around the spiral throne. Her amber eyes scanned the gathering. Her long black hair was adorned with white shell pieces that shimmered like moonlight, yet her face bore the burden of an impossible decision. "My sisters," her voice rang clear, calm but firm. "As you've heard, a human man has breached our borders. He was found injured and unconscious by Generals Narissa, Thalina, and Serere. The healers are tending to him, but his presence poses a question our kingdom can no longer ignore." She turned to her 6 top generals seated at her side, Narissa, Vila, Zula, Manda, Thalina, and Serere. "I ask you," the Queen continued, "do we kill him, or do we use him?" A murmur rippled through the crowd. Narissa rose first, her storm-grey eyes steady. "My Queen," she began, "we know the consequences of inaction. Our numbers dwindle every moon cycle. If we are to survive, we must do what has never been done before. Use the man for procreation." Thalina nodded in quiet agreement. "We are not endorsing love or weakness. This is strategy." Serere, her green eyes wide with emotion, added, "We were taught to honor life. Perhaps the gods brought him here for this reason. Let's not let pride seal our fate." A sharp scoff echoed from the opposite end. Vila, her crimson-red tail coiled tightly beneath her, stood up, fire in her amber eyes. "Have you all gone mad?" she growled. "To dilute our blood with that of a human? To birth children who are neither sea nor land? This is blasphemy against our ancestors. We are not breeders. We are warriors." Zula, her tall figure imposing, with her shimmering silver tail and midnight black hair flowing behind her, rose to support her. "I agree with Vila," she said coldly. "Our people died to protect our purity. Bringing in human blood makes us no different from the surface beasts." Manda slammed her fist on her seat. "This is desperation masquerading as strategy." A heavy silence followed. 6 generals. 3 for, 3 against. Queen Adrivia's voice cut through the tension. "Since the council is tied, the verdict shall rest with the kingdom." One by one, mermaid warriors stood. Most had never seen a man. Others only knew the stories of their fathers, men lost in the Great Purge, hunted to extinction. "We don't have a choice," one called out. "We will go extinct otherwise," said another. "I want to live and have children of my own," a third whispered. The voices grew louder, clearer, and the result was undeniable. The majority chose procreation. Queen Adriia stood, her voice steady but heavy. "Then it is decided. All mermaids from age 16 and above shall be prepared for the ceremony of life to mate with the human. The man shall serve one purpose, our future. Vila's eyes blazed. She stood abruptly, her chest rising with rage. Without another word, she turned and stormed out, her tail whipping behind her. Zula hesitated, but followed. That night, in a hidden coral chamber far from the amphitheater, Vila stood before a cracked obsidian mirror, her face twisted in fury. She's weak, Vila hissed, throwing off her golden cuffs. Queen Adriia bows to fear like a broken shell. Zula closed the chamber door behind her. Treasonous words, Vila. You know that. Vila smirked. Let them call it treason. I call it vision. Zula's voice was low. You speak of power, but at what cost? Vila leaned in close, her eyes glowing. The Abari people. They hold the key. They wiped out our men, yes, but they also command immortality. Zula froze. That's suicide. They destroyed us once. Why would they help us? I don't need help, Vila whispered. I need power, I need immortality, not children. The clan can go extinct for all I care, but I want to be a god. I will strike a deal with the Abari people. And when I return, Thalare will kneel to me. The man stirred in the soft moss bed, his eyelids fluttering open to the muted blue glow of the chamber. He blinked slowly, confused by the light shimmering through the coral walls and the haunting hum of the ocean around him. Water moved gently across his skin, soothing yet foreign. Queen Adriia stood at the edge of the room, her arms crossed, golden bangles clinking softly. Her amber eyes never left him. You're awake, she said. The man turned his head weakly toward her voice. His throat was dry, and every movement came with a stab of pain. He tried to speak, but only a rasp came out. She stepped closer, her long, sleek tail catching the dim light. You were found unconscious at the boundary currents, bleeding from deep gashes. You should be dead, she said. But you're not. Who are you? He looked at her, confused. His lips parted again. I don't know. Adrivia's brow creased. You don't know? He sat up slightly, holding his ribs. I remember. Nothing. Not my name. Not how I got here. A silence settled between them, heavy and uncomfortable. The queen watched him, searching for a lie in his eyes. But there was only fear and confusion. You were carrying nothing. No weapons. No tokens. Just blood and silence, she murmured. He lowered his eyes. Please, where am I? Adriia stepped back, her voice low and sharp. You're in Thalare, the heart of the southern waters. You crossed sacred boundaries. You're lucky I didn't leave you to the kelp serpents. I don't even know what that is. Her gaze softened, just a flicker. Then she turned and left without another word. In another chamber, the girls whispered behind silken veils, their nervous giggles swallowed by the echoing current. The glow orbs in the corners of the room cast a soft blush across the silver and jade walls. Rani adjusted the shell strap around her chest and looked toward Lyra. What if he's hideous? She whispered. Lyra, slightly older, rolled her eyes. He's not. I peeked when they brought him in. He has a chest like coral stone and eyes like warm river water. The others giggled again, but behind their playful tones was the tremble of uncertainty. They had trained for this. Prepared. Bathed in star jelly. Fed only pearl fruit and sacred kelp. Yet none of them had ever touched a man. Let alone lay with one. I heard he lost his memory, whispered Naya, her voice barely a breath. What if he forgets the joining too? Rani laughed nervously. Then maybe it won't count. They all fell silent as the priestess entered, draped in flowing robes of kelp and starlight threads. She looked at each of them, her eyes unreadable. You were chosen for a purpose. The blood of men must run with the sea once more, the priestess intoned. Tonight, we see if the sacred joining restores what was lost. Narissa stood at the edge of the palace terrace, watching the horizon turn violet with the passing of day. Thalina sat beside her, combing her dark braids with a coral-toothed brush, while Sirare leaned against the spiral column behind them, arms crossed. She left again, Thalina said. I saw what she did at the meeting, Narissa replied without turning. Sirare snorted. She doesn't care about the laws. She doesn't care about anything. She cares about being right, Narissa murmured. Even if it kills her. Thalina paused, her fingers tangled in her hair. You think she'd betray Thalare? Narissa turned then, her expression unreadable. She already has. Every time she challenges the Queen in public. Every time she questions authority. She's chipping away at the root. She's hurting, Sirere said suddenly. We all are. But Vila, she carries hers like a torch. She wants fire in a kingdom made of water, Narissa said. That's not rebellion. That's madness. She was our friend, Thalina whispered. We were raised together. Played in the foam. Shared secrets. Narissa looked back out at the ocean, her heart heavy. Then why does she feel like a stranger now? Close to the outskirts of Thalare. Vila's tail sliced through the cold black depths like a dagger. Her crimson scales gleamed in the darkness, a flame underwater. Zula swam behind her, struggling to keep pace. Vila, stop. Zula shouted. You're heading for the edge of the world. Vila didn't look back. Then maybe the world needs new edges. We're not supposed to go this far. The Abari people are the only ones who ever beat us, Vila snapped, halting suddenly. They fought back. They survived. They don't bow and kneel and wait for fate. They take. Zula hovered, panting. You want to join them? I want answers. Power. Truth. Her eyes gleamed with something wild, something sharp. Zula's voice trembled. What if the Abari kill you on sight? Then I die fighting, not fading. The water around them grew colder, the light dimming to almost nothing. In the distance, dark spires of coral jutted out like the bones of a long-dead beast. Strange shadows moved between them. Vila, Zula whispered. But Vila was already swimming toward them, her heart pounding with purpose and defiance. She didn't see the eyes watching her from the shadows, or the silent figure swimming just beyond the coral, waiting. The chambers were dimly lit with glowing pearls, casting soft ripples of blue and green light against the curved, coral-formed walls. The man lay on a seaweed-woven bed, his breathing steadier now, his skin no longer pale from blood loss. His wounds had been stitched with golden kelp, and healing salts bubbled gently around him. The Queen sat silently beside the healer, her piercing eyes studying the man's face. He is strong, the healer whispered. Stronger than I expected. His body responded well to the sea herbs. He should be fully recovered soon. The Queen nodded. Has he remembered anything yet? The healer stepped aside as the man stirred. His eyes fluttered open, glancing at the royal figure before him. There was confusion in his gaze. Who are you? The Queen asked gently. I don't know, the man muttered, voice dry and hoarse. I don't remember anything. My name. Where I came from. He touched the glowing pendant that still hung around his neck, a strange, deep blue stone pulsing softly. The Queen's gaze lingered on it. That pendant, she said, has magic. The moment Sirere touched you, it reacted. We must learn what it means. He looked down at the pendant. It's all I had on me when I woke up. Everything else is blank. Elsewhere in the kingdom, in the ceremonial waiting chambers carved from smooth obsidian coral, 25 young mermaids aged 16 sat in anticipation. They wore silk-like garments woven from eel thread and sea foam, their hair intricately braided with pearls and starfish. Excitement and nervousness hung in the salty air. The high priestess entered, her long veil trailing behind her, and the room fell silent. You have been prepared since your first blood moon, she said. Tonight, you take part in the sacred mating. Remember all you have learned. The future of our kind rests on your wombs. You are the vessels of our survival. One of the girls swallowed hard. Will he be gentle? The priestess smiled faintly. He will not harm you. He is no ordinary human. Another mermaid whispered, what if we don't get pregnant? The priestess raised her hand. The sea decides. But this man, he carries great fertility. The healers have confirmed it. In the Queen's private chamber, she poured wine made from fermented coral nectar. One of the senior healers stood beside her. Is he strong enough for this night? The Queen asked. Yes, my Queen, the healer replied. His body is ready. And the signs show his seed is potent. By dawn, the first signs of conception will appear. And the birthing, the queen asked. It will be fast. No more than 7 days. The queen sighed. Let the sea guide him. The ritual began. One by one, the mermaids were led into the human's chamber. He sat upright now, confused but oddly calm, as if an ancient instinct guided him. The pendant glowed softly with every mermaid who approached. Their touch was gentle. Their bodies smooth and warm. He did not understand why or how, but he was compelled to act as though something primal had awakened within him. For hours, they came, each one soft-spoken, each one pressing her fate into his arms. By dawn, he lay still, heart racing but alive. He looked at the ceiling of the coral dome, blinking. A flash struck him, a distant, flickering memory. The sharp sting of blades, running through a forest at night, the sound of something chasing him, then falling into the sea, the splash, darkness, and now this. He gasped. The memory had returned like a lightning strike. He clutched the pendant on his chest, and for the first time, he whispered a name, Io. The next day, the queen was informed that 20 out of the 25 mermaids were successfully pregnant. The other 5 cried quietly in their chambers, watched over by the priestess. The sea chose who it wished, the priestess said gently to them. Do not despair. Your time will come. Later, as the queen sipped from her cup in silence, she turned to Narissa, who was standing beside her. Where is Vila? She asked. Narissa frowned. I haven't seen her. Or Zula. Not for days. The queen summoned Manda. I saw them leaving the outer reefs days ago, Manda said. They didn't say where they were going. The queen's eyes darkened. Send scouts. Have the warriors watch all city borders. Day and night. I want Vila found. Yes, my queen. The queen turned to Sirere, who had silently stepped into the room. Be vigilant. She is not to be trusted. I know, Sirere said. Something in her eyes the last time. It wasn't loyalty. I want you to watch over the human, the queen said. He is not from our world. Until we understand who or what he is, you must not let him out of your sight. Sirere bowed her head. I will obey, my queen. Meanwhile, throughout the week, the pregnant mermaids began to give birth, some on the 2nd day, some on the 3rd, and others on the 5th. The children were unlike any born before, tiny, glowing infants with marks on their shoulders that resembled the same rune etched on the man's pendant, but they also had tails like mermaids and mermen. The queen stared at one of the newborns. They look a bit different from us. Yes, said the priestess, they are something new. Sirere visited the man often. She watched him as he gained strength, walked through the shallows of the inner sanctum, and asked her questions about her world. In her heart, something stirred. He was unlike anything she had known, gentle, curious, kind. One day, she touched the pendant again, and it glowed brighter than ever. He looked into her eyes. I remember, your voice. You were the first I saw. Sirere blushed. You were barely breathing. You saved me. She smiled. Maybe the sea wanted you here. He said thank you, Sirere. Over time, their conversations grew deeper. He shared scattered pieces of memory with her, visions of fire, a pendant around his neck, a sinking ship, and a fall that should have taken his life. Their moments became something sacred. A bond neither of them expected began to form. And one night, under the glow of the moonlit coral dome, something changed. He looked at her as though he saw something no one else ever had. You're the only thing in this world that feels real. Without words, he pulled her close. Their lips met gently at first, then with the ache of something deeper, longing, gratitude, and a love neither understood. Sirere didn't resist. She melted into the kiss, letting her heart speak louder than reason. That night, they made love, not out of ritual, not for tradition, but from something pure. Something that could not be explained. When Sirere left his chamber, she was breathless. The taste of his kiss lingered, but fear gripped her. She couldn't tell Narissa or Thalina. The queen had trusted her, not to fall for him, not to do what she had done. But something had changed in her body. She could feel it. Her body responded to him not like the other maidens, who had been given to him out of duty. What they shared was love. Real. Unfiltered. Unbreakable. The next day, Soraya avoided her sisters. She washed longer in the sacred pool, hoping the guilt would fade. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face. Felt his breath on her skin. Heard his whispered name for her, Light. She was different now. And nothing could undo it. Far away, in a dark kingdom buried deep beneath the volcanic ridges, Vila and Zula knelt before cloaked figures with glowing red eyes. The Abari, ancient beings of blood magic, loomed in a circle. I come to make a deal, Vila said boldly. I want immortality. And power beyond what the Queen can offer. The largest of the Abari stepped forward. You seek what comes with a cost. I will pay it, she hissed. The Queen is weak. Our people should dominate the seas, not breed with humans. Zulu's face was pale with fear. Vila, are you sure? I am more than sure, Vila replied, smiling coldly. Let the sea bear witness, Vila is no longer a servant. I will be its master. The Abari circle began to chant. And the deal was struck.